Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So forgive the sparseness of the background. We are in that transition phase between Vlogmas and normal video backgrounds. We are also kind of packing up our house slowly as we prepare to put our house on the market. So it's a little bit of chaos in this house right now, so filming is going to be interesting this month. But I did want to jump on here real quick and talk about some books that I am going to read the first chapter of. I've done Try a Chapter Tag in the past, and I'll link that in a card up above and then down below. And I really loved doing that, and I kept wanting to do it near the end of last year, but I was in the middle of so many books that it was really hard and it felt stressful. So I ended the year on a clean slate, started January with no books currently reading, and so I decided that to choose my first book of 2019, I would do the Try a Chapter Tag. So I picked a number of books off of my shelf, and I'm going to be reading the first chapter of each of these, and they're quite different. Two of them, actually three of them I actually recently got in the month of December. One of them has been on my shelf for quite a long time. I probably should have considered my Bookopoly cards in choosing these, but I didn't. I just picked some things that looked like things I would want to read and went with it. But yes, so the first book is Every Heart a Doorway, which I received in my The Broken the Bookish Secret Santa package. And this is a tiny little book. I feel like regardless of how I feel about this, I'm probably going to finish this in January because it's so short. It does not meet the under 150 pages task that I drew for Bookopoly this month. That's okay. I'll find another one for that. But basically, this is the first book in the Wayward Children series, and it is about kids who have gone into like other worlds, so like Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, those kind of places. So it's kind of that concept, but then it's about children who have opened these doors into another world and gone to them and come back and are trying to cope with the real world. So it's not like any of those actual characters, but it's just like children who have been in similar situations and come back to the real world. So I've heard a ton about this. This is a BookTube favorite, and it's taken me a long time to actually pick it up. So I'll be reading the first chapter of this. And then from another one from that same haul, or that same package, was Three Souls by Janie Chang, which is a book that I have been really interested in reading ever since I read Dragon Springs Road by Janie Chang. I loved that book, and I love things that are set in like the East and kind of look at the culture of the East. And this one is set in 1935 China, and it's about a woman who has died, and it's basically her soul looking down on her life, or looking back on her life trying to see what she did wrong, something to that effect. But yeah, it sounds really fascinating, and if I remember correctly, Helene from Helene Jepsen gave this a like rave review, so that is also encouraging. So I'm looking forward to this. This is also in my 5-star predictions, so I have very high hopes for this one. And then this is one I got for Christmas, so American Hippo by Sarah Gailey, and I believe this is actually 2 novellas that are combined into one, but this is at least partly about if hippo ranches had actually happened. So apparently at some point in American history or in U.S. history, the government thought that it would be a good idea to farm hippos and then eat them for meat. It didn't actually happen, but it was a thing that was actually proposed. And I think this explores kind of like a fictional world where if that had actually happened, what would that look like? And it has cowboys, except instead of horses, they're riding hippos. So that sounds fascinating. And yeah, that one, it just seems like such a quirky thing, and I've heard really good things about this from other booktubers. And the last one I've had on my shelf for ages, and this is 20 Million Leagues Over the Sea, and this is by a local author. She actually used to work at the company that I work at now, which is kind of a coincidence. I found that out when I met her at the Reader Writer Festival a few years ago, which is where I actually bought this. She and her husband are both authors and write full time now, and this is like a sequel to War of the Worlds, sort of. So it's like her take on what would have happened after War of the Worlds. Now, I haven't actually read War of the Worlds, so I am not sure if I have to read that before I read this, but this has been on my shelf for so long, and I just kind of am curious what the writing style is like, and if I'm even going to be interested in this. So I want to read the first chapter. If I'm intrigued, then I'll look into whether or not I need to read War of the Worlds before actually diving completely into this. So those are my 4 books that I'm going to be trying a chapter of. I'm going to try to do that throughout the day today, since I am off work today. And then I will check back with you once I have read the first chapter and let you know kind of what I thought and which one I think I'm going to be continuing with, or if any of these are not going to stay on my shelf. We shall see. So I read the first, it's like the prologue or whatever, and then the first chapter, which was about 30 pages. Am I supposed to love this right off the bat? Because it's okay. Like, I'll probably read it this month, but at the same time, I don't find this to be super, super interesting yet. Like, I like the idea of it, but at the same time, like the main, or the character that they're talking about in the first part, Nancy, I don't really care about her world before. So if it follows just her, I don't know. I'm reserving judgment, but the first chapter of this did not blow me away. So on to the next one. Let's see how I feel about it. So here's the thing. I'm still not done with this chapter, and it's been like hours since I started it. That says nothing about this book, because I actually find it really interesting. I am just so tired today. Like, really, really tired. So I'm having a hard time concentrating. But yeah, I still have, I think, like 10 pages or something to go. And it is pretty small type on the book. But yeah, I don't know why I'm so tired. So this was probably a poor day to decide to try to do this. Alright, so I did finish the first chapter of this, and I'm real intrigued. I mean, I have been in the mood for science fiction anyways, but yeah, this, once I got past my, like, being exhausted feeling, I'm kind of hooked. It has really good reviews, especially for something that's self-published. The one thing that I am a little concerned about is that it's supposed to be a sequel to War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, and I haven't actually read War of the Worlds, so I don't know if I need to understand this. My husband has read this, so maybe I'll ask him, but yeah, I like this. It's really well written, and the main character, the main female character, seems really interesting, and it's like a steampunk alternate history kind of thing. I've got this little nugget with me here, and we are going to read this one now and see how we get along. Thoughts, buddy? So this one was interesting. I like the writing style a lot, and the fact that America wanted to, or that the United States thought about using hippo meat. Concerning. The writing style, like I said, is really good on this one. It's weird, but interesting. I I could have done without the graphic description of someone cutting somebody's nose open. That was gross, especially in the first chapter. But this is a contender. I think this might be a funny read for the first of the year. So I've got one left now. That's this one. This is Three Souls by Janie Chang. This is on my 5-star predictions list. So I'm excited to read this one. I do think that the first chapter of this is like 40 pages though. So I read the prologue of this, which was very intriguing. I still find Janie Chang's writing to be really good. So I am considering that this is the one that I kind of wanted to start the year out with. And it's seeming like a strong contender. I definitely want to read the next, like the actual first chapter of this. But I mean, they're all pretty interesting in their own right and very, very different. So I will let you know what I choose. It's like 9:30 now, so I'm probably going to take this and read the first chapter in bed before I go to sleep tonight. And then I will update you tomorrow. So it's actually like 3 days later, and I thought I was going to continue with Three Souls by Janie Chang, which is actually what I probably will read next, but I ended up going with this one. So yeah, part of it, because it was so short, and once I started it, I was like, I'm already into this. I might as well go ahead and finish it. It's only 160 something pages. So I ended up reading this. I read actually most of it today. I fall in the camp of thinking that this is just okay. So that might be an unpopular opinion, but I won't be continuing on with this series because I just don't think it's for me. So let me first say that I went into this with an expectation that this was like really whimsical and kind of lighthearted. So the way that everybody talks about this is like, these are the kids who went to these other worlds and came back, and this is how they're kind of making it through. It's like a home for these children who can't fit in the real world. So it sounded like a fun boarding school kind of thing where they talk about these whimsical worlds. This is really dark, guys. Like, I found the first part of it kind of a little bit meh, like boring. Like, I didn't really think that the main character of Nancy, her story was all that interesting. I thought her world was kind of like, why would you want to go back to that? But I guess, you know, that's the point, is like to each their own. The biggest thing that I honestly guess is a complaint that I have for this is I had no idea that this was going to turn into a pretty violent murder mystery. No one talks about that. And I don't think that that's a spoiler to say that, because it doesn't tell you anything else about it. But guys, there's like carving up of body parts in this, and it's described pretty graphically. And honestly, I would have liked to know that going in, because had I known that going in, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, because those kind of things are not for me. Like, I am an anxious person, and that kind of stuff not only makes me anxious, but also makes me feel kind of physically ill. So I would have liked to have known that going in, and I don't think anybody ever talked about that. I've seen this book discussed probably dozens of times, and no one has ever mentioned that. No one's even so much as mentioned that it's like murder mystery-esque. So just a heads up, in case you haven't read this and you're interested in it. Not the worst start to the year, because, you know, it was a short book. The writing is really good, so, you know, it has its captivating elements. I think that the subject is really interesting, and it's something that I went and read like the synopsises of the rest of them, and I like that Sean McGuire is going to take it in different directions. The next one, I read the synopsis because I was still kind of on the fence, and I was like, yeah, no. The world that the next one's going into is the one that I want least to go into. So, yeah. No, not for me. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.